Look at this. This is amazing. This is Judea. Not only is she a service dog, she is totally deaf and she's a rescue.
She's more special than people realize. Of course, as you know, she's deaf and she understands American Sign Language. But more than that, she is my therapy dog. And she took over when we lost my first one, Clarence. And she does many things for me, such as opening the refrigerator, picking things up.
I noticed she also retrieves her own dog dish.
Yes, on my weaker days, she brings her bowl to me. She cleans up after herself, just like a good child. Yeah, she has her chores.
She's right there, and you sign her.
I do. I use all sign language. And we call her my Velcro dog because she stays pretty close to me all the time.
And even gets into bed with you.
Yes, she does. She loves getting in bed with me and under the covers.
She's so adorable. And I noticed in your room even, you have a dog door which she goes in and out.
Yes. We built our home so that it could be completely dog-friendly. And Judea is a rescue. All of our pups have been rescued, but she was rescued only at 8 weeks old. She was thrown away at 6 weeks of age simply because she was deaf. But we were called up, would you like to adopt another deaf dog? And we said, absolutely. And we went down to Pennsylvania and got her.
How many signs do you do with Judea?
We are over 35 or 40. The first sign I taught was for Cookie. And once they know that the hands are saying something delicious, they watch the hands.
Now, you had to learn sign language because, as you briefly said, your first dog was deaf as well.
Yes, we didn't know any sign language at all, except for the sign I love you, which we couldn't use with our first dog, who was named Hogan, because he was afraid of the waving hand. So we had to work our way into that, but I didn't know any sign language. So my wonderful husband went out and got me this pocket book so I could learn sign language, one sign at a time. Hogan and I learned them together.
And I think really you were basically one of the first to use sign language with a dog.
Yes, Hogan was one of the very first, because there's lots of myths that surround deaf dogs. A deaf dog can't learn. They're more prone to bite, that they'll startle more easily. Hogan learned well over 70 signs, and I used well over 100 signs with him. Hogan opened up the world to the deaf dogs are wonderful and can make loving, wonderful pets. He went on Oprah Winfrey and showed the world. He went on Jack Hanna's Animal Adventures, Dateline NBC, not once but twice. He went on Good Morning America, live to Japan radio. So he showed the world that those myths are untrue. He became a therapy dog and went into convalescent homes, into schools, and taught children to be kind and gentle with all animals, not just deaf ones.
And now you carry on with Judea.
Judea carries on that message.
What are you trying to get people to understand?
That with hope, anything is possible, and that we are all special because of our differences. And we need to learn to love and accept each other just the way we are.
You also keep her busy, and I know that's important to you because she has to be mentally stimulated.
We try to find as many things as possible to keep her mind active and stimulated because, believe it or not, Judea is 10 years old.
Can't believe it.
But she acts like a pup in many ways.
Absolutely.
We have the bubble gum machine where she feeds herself. We have the search toy where she searches for tidbits and the little green cuttings. She has other doggy treat toys that she has to discover where the treats are. She runs on the lure course. We try to do as many things as possible to keep her stimulated and things for her to play with.
Including brushing her teeth, which she really enjoyed because her tail was wagging the whole time.
Well, from early age, I would put my finger in her mouth. And then we progressed to a regular toothbrush, and now we're to the battery-operated toothbrush. And she doesn't mind at all.
Not at all, not at all. And actually, your experience with Hogan inspired you to write a wonderful book.
Yes, his story has changed the lives of many people and has inspired people. And I will share with you that it has taken many awards. And because of that, people came up to me and said, would you please put this into a children's book? And so we are writing at least 2 parts of a children's book. And the first is Hogan's Hope, Finding a Forever Home of Love and Acceptance. And it is out. And the second book is underway, and that is going to be entitled Hogan's Hope, Finding Favorite Things.
Such a special dog. And when we come back, we're going from meeting an incredibly special dog to an incredibly special horse. I can't wait for you to meet Miss B. Stay tuned. Lauren's Crazy Pet Show is coming right back. Welcome back to Lauren's Crazy Pet Show. We are in Newtown, Connecticut, and you know, it wasn't all that long ago when there weren't any trains or equipment or cars, and guess who the real workhorses were? The horses! And this breed was front and center.
That's right, Lauren. The Percheron came to this country as the biggest, the brightest, and the best temperamented of all the draft horses. After the Civil War, there were no indigenous draft horses here in America. So farmers and cities that needed horses to pull trolleys and buses had to look to Europe to bring in these really big, wonderful draft horses.
Wow, and they are so big. Talk about their size, and of course they were bred to work.
True. The Percheron came from a small old province in France called Le Perche, and it's about 50 miles southwest of Paris near Normandy. And the local farmers there needed a do-it-all draft horse. So they bred this horse over generations, centuries actually, to do all their different needs. And as the needs of the horse changed, so did its size. They started as a war horse. You know, if you ever look at old paintings and literature, French kings and knights are all in these large white horses.
Yes.
Those are Percherons. And then when gunpowder came along, they went to be farming. And as farming disappeared with horses, they went to pull trolleys in the cities. And so they became carriage horses. And the breeders then made them even stronger and developed a horse that is exceptional at the trot, because these horses can trot for like 7 to 10 miles an hour all day long. So when I ride my Percheron, Big B, she is the best at the trot. I just love her trot.
She's beautiful too, and she has a special story as well. She's one really special horse. So what were they bred from? Like, what was the foundation? Like, we talk about that in the dog world.
We do.
But what about with the horses?
So just like in the dog world with purebred dogs, we say this a lot, their origins are shrouded in mystery and myth. So we really don't know. It was really up to the local people who needed these dogs and horses for the jobs that helped them survive. So it was, you know, my horse down the street and your stallion up the road. And the great thing about breeding animals to help humans is that, you know, if you need a bigger or stronger animal, you go and look for the 2 strongest and you breed them together to create the desired traits that you need. But their size is what's so amazing. A male Percheron can be about 2,000 pounds.
Wow.
Which is 2 tons. And a female can be around 1,600 to 1,800 pounds. And their height, horses are measured in hands, 4 inches per hand. And they are roughly about 17 to 20 hands for a Percheron.
Wow. And Lisa, some of our viewers might recognize you because you were on our Pet Talk show many times in many of our fabulous theme shows.
That's correct. I used to be the AKC spokesperson, and I would bring purebred dogs to your show. You had wonderful themes from different countries, so I would bring, say, a Pekingese for the Chinese theme, or for St. Patrick's Day, I would bring Irish breeds, things like that. Yeah, or even for dog shows, I'd bring some just really cool different breeds around.
Oh, and we learned so much from you, and you're such a good sport. Now, we want to talk about Miss B, who happens to be not only beautiful, but very special. Is this the coloring on most of them?
So Percherons can come in a variety of colors. Most of them are gray, variations of gray. When they're young, they're born black. All white horses are born black, and then they lighten up with age. B herself, she is what's called a flea-bitten gray. So it looks like she has little tiny dashes of gray, flecks of gray all over her coat, like flea bites.
It's like a Dalmatian almost.
Yeah, but very tiny. Yeah, very tiny. They also come in black. And also chestnut. So there's, you know, a variety of colors.
Now, how did you and Miss B come together?
I started riding her, trail riding her with my friend, And after a couple of years, her friend decided that we were just so much in love that she sold her to me.
It was just meant to be.
It was just meant to be.
How'd you get the name?
Her name is Queen Bee.
Queen Bee.
Right, I call her Big Bee because she's big.
Oh, I love that.
But she's a sweetheart. She has that perfect Percheron temperament. You know, it's docile, it's very sweet, they're very agreeable.
And I bet Miss Bee knows that she was saved.
So Bee has an interesting backstory. She was born in Canada. At the time, there were what they called pregnant mare urine farms to produce a certain drug for menopause in women. And the mares had to be constantly kept pregnant. And so they were delivering lots of foals, and then the foals were sent off to auction afterwards. And so Big Bee ended up, by the time she was 3 years old, she ended up at an auction for horse meat. So she was going to be sold for horse meat, which is still eaten in certain places in this world. But a horse person came in and purchased her, and then she was sold to her previous owner, who I know.
Wow, she's one lucky queen bee.
Yeah, she's the queen bee. And she has her herd. As you may know, mares are in charge of the herd, so she is the boss mare. And she has 2 geldings that she bosses around.
That's so great. Well, she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Miss Bee, Queen Bee. She's so beautiful. When we come back, more beautiful animals, yes, because every animal needs a play date. Stay tuned. Lauren's Crazy Pet Show is coming right back. Welcome back to Lauren's Crazy Pet Show. We're here at the Connecticut Beardsley Zoo for a play date. Well, sort of. We're here to show you something very important that the Connecticut Beardsley Zoo does every single day to all of their animals. It's called enrichment.
Yes, enrichment is very important. Now, enrichment is just that. It's anything that enriches the animal's life here at the zoo. And that could be something that stimulates them mentally, stimulates them physically, basically causing them to have some natural behaviors in the wild that we wouldn't be able to replicate here 100%. And that could be anything from playing a certain sound, playing music, sometimes they just like that, putting some items in the yard for them to play with, hiding food, putting scents out. Basically, it's something that has to happen every day for all of the animals, and it varies from animal to animal. There's some things that we can do for some that we can't do for others.
Now today we are at the Red Wolves, and we get to see how you give them enrichment.
The red and Mexican gray wolves, we're going to be giving them some ice blocks made of meat and water. So we just mix up the meat in the water, slosh it all around, put it in the freezer overnight, and then throw it in there. So it's a nice little popsicle for them. When we throw the enrichment ice blocks in with the Mexican gray wolves, they are very outgoing. They're a little bit less nervous than the red wolves, and they will just walk right up and take it. They're supposed to lick it, but they get very much like the owl in that Tootsie Pop commercial, and they just kind of chomp on it to get to the good stuff. The red wolves, you could toss it in. They are a little bit more shy. They tend to hide a little bit more, so they will probably stay away from us until we walk away, and then they'll grab them.
Now, another time we were here, we actually saw you give them some dead rat, which was really kind of gross, but I guess they like it.
Yeah, that's one of their favorite thing are the whole prey items like that. We don't feed out live rodents here. We buy them already euthanized and frozen. The red wolves are very good at, like, they'll grab them and bury them someplace in the yard just so the other one can't get it. They're very funny about that. They get some larger items later in the week, and they never really eat them the first day. They'll usually just bury them, and then we find them the day after. So,
oh, that's so funny.
yep. And today for the Maine wolves, we did some beef bones in the yard for them, some marrow bones. So it's got a little bit of meat on it for them to pick off. The marrow, which is actually really nutritionally good for them. And we also put some scent enrichments out there, and they love anything that stinks. So we did some buck urine, so the urine from a male deer, which is wonderful, let me tell you. And we also did some mink anal gland. Don't ask where we get that. They love that as well. It looks terrible, but they love to roll around in it. And if you've ever been walking your dog and you find some rancid substance on the ground and your dog's first reaction is to roll around in it, that's a very natural reaction, because if you're a wolf, you smell very much like a wolf, and if you're sneaking up on a deer and they smell wolf, they're going to try to run away. If the wolf comes across a giant pile of deer pee and rolls around in it, he now smells like deer pee, and if the deer smell a giant pile of deer pee, they're going to be like, oh, it's just deer pee, and it allows them to kind of sneak up on them a little bit better.
And the ones we saw today, those were actually the babies we saw. I don't know, it wasn't even that long ago.
Yeah, it's I believe they're going to be 3 this December. We have all 3 of the siblings here. We have 2 of them up top, and we got a third in another area right now, trying to reintroduce fuzes them all back together.
And when we were there that day, they actually were having fun chasing after a meat bone as well.
Yeah, meat bones are a pretty big staple of things that we give, especially the carnivores. They love them, but also it's very good for them as well.
And it's interesting because we're getting a behind the scenes look, but most people don't get to see this, so they don't even realize it's going on.
Some people come by and they think that there's garbage in the some of the animal exhibits because we might do something like hide their food inside of a cardboard box or under a couple layers of newspaper, which would stimulate them to have to figure out to open it up to get to the food. So they might just think that some garbage blew in there, but no, that was actually something that we did for them to give them a little bit of exercise.
And I guess it's important for people to realize how important this is and the fact that you're always thinking of new things, and you do this every day with every animal.
You just have to cater it towards the specific animal. Like, we can't give cardboard products to the Maine wolves because we know that they'll just eat it. And some animals, like the anteaters, if they can't really eat it or smell it, they don't really care about it. So you can put a ball out there and they'll just walk right by it. So you have to cater it towards each individual to make sure that it's it's worthwhile for them. You know, you could say that we're doing enrichment by just putting some boomer balls in with the anteaters, but if they're not going to interact with it, then it's not really doing anything for them. But if we do something as simple as taking 6 or 8 small bowls and dividing their food into the 6 or 8 bowls and moving it all over the exhibit, making them have to go out and actually forage, which is what they would do naturally in the wild, then something as simple as that is a great enrichment for them. It keeps them engaged for a very long time.
And while we were at the zoo watching them give the animals enrichment, we also got to see them feed the alligators, and oh, that was so cool.
So we actually feed our North American alligators twice a week. You guys are getting to see it. It's kind of a neat thing.
Excited. It's so cool.
So like I said, we feed these guys twice a week. These guys are generally considered to be cold-blooded, so they don't actually have the same metabolic demands as a mammal of the same size would have, so they don't need to eat all that much. But in the summertime, for every 10 degrees Celsius that the temperature raises, their rate of digestion actually doubles. So as it gets hotter, they're going to want to eat more and more.
Now, what were they eating? It kind of looked good.
So what they were eating was actually chicken. They also get every so often rats or fish or chunks of meat. We try to vary their diet a bit, but the bulk of it is bone-in chicken.
How interesting. And they have a lot of teeth.
They do. They can have 70, 80 teeth.
Oh, Chris, wait, what is that bird we're hearing?
So that's our sandhill crane making that noise.
They always make that? I didn't realize they were so vocal.
It's a bit of a territorial call because we're all sitting right here, so he's kind of warning us to keep our distance from him. Alligator shed their teeth and regrow them throughout their lifetime. So they're kind of stacked a little bit like ice cream cones in their jaw, so when one comes out, another one just comes right up through the gum.
That is so cool. Now, I want to make people aware that this is not really enrichment, though we're so happy we got to see this while we were seeing the enrichment. It's really just their feeding. They get enrichment separately.
So we can and do enrichment with all of the animals here at the Beardsley Zoo. With these guys, we can do things like we can put different balls or different toys or different noises, and certain noises do actually have effect on them. Famously, I think it's a D note played out of a tuba will get these guys to bellow. So when they bellow, they arch their head up. What a lot of people don't realize is North American alligators are the world's loudest reptiles.
I didn't know that.
So they bellow, and at the same time, they're producing what's known as infrasound. So that's very, very deep noise that causes the water along their back to actually dance. And if you're lucky enough to experience it here, you can feel it through the ground right here.
Like
through
a
the concrete.
vibration?
Yep.
That is so cool. Wow. Oh, those animals are so beautiful. I wonder if they would they ever wear like fashions? Probably not. But when we come back, we have some great pet fashions for you. Stay tuned. Top designers right here on Lauren's Crazy Pet Show coming up next. Welcome back to Lauren's Crazy Pet Show. We promised you fashion and we got it. We have an exclusive. We got a behind the scenes look at a celebrity catwalk photo shoot.
Absolutely, Lauren. Once again, Celebrity Catwalk is at the forefront of pet couture fashion. And even in lieu of current events, we are preparing for another Paws in the City event because charity doesn't stop, rescue doesn't stop, fundraising doesn't stop. And so we are here, and designers have once again come through with over-the-top fashions. So we're preparing for South Carolina 2020, and we're bringing them for for you here today.
Now here we have a preview, and we
Yes.
have some awesome models, and it shows the diversity of who's going to be in the show.
Absolutely. We have over 55 furry fashionistas who will be hitting the catwalk for charity this fall in South Carolina. We have over 35 designers who have come together from around the globe, from Morocco to England, across the pond to Ireland, to right here in the good old US of A, who are coming together to hit the catwalk for charity.
And now these are the latest fashions, and some people who don't dress their animals might not understand, but this is booming, it's huge.
It's an incredible industry, and if you just go on to Facebook or Etsy or Amazon or any internet platform, you will see that the pet couture market is a billion-dollar industry. Different designers create and donate everything that you see on the catwalk, and they create their own scene. So the show never has a theme. I feel very strongly that designers need to show their breadth and their width of design capabilities without any restraints. So they completely are designing on their own, they are designing whatever they want, and they are free to create whatever scene they like, and that's what they're doing. So they're pulling out the creative stops in terms of making whatever they want.
Crystal, this is so exciting. You are the photographer today. These models are like supermodels.
They sure are, and I do it every year with Jennifer Bartok and her celebrity catwalk event, and it's awesome, and it's very rewarding. I love shooting the pups.
It must be interesting to see all the different types and the variety of models you have here.
Yes, some are veterans, some are new puppies, but they always seem to just get it going and pick it up right up and do their modeling things.
I love the fact that this is for fun. It's also for people who are interested in the clothing. It's to showcase designers, but like you said, it's also for charity.
We are partnering once again with Yorkie 911, and we also have a wonderful designer and rescue in the show named Beauchamp, Juanita Esparza, who is not only going to be showing her designs on the catwalk, but she is making the trip from Guatemala and will be in South Carolina in November.
I have to say, of course, my Inoki has been in several, and
Absolutely.
it was absolutely fantastic.
And she is always welcome. We love Inoki.
She was the biggest of all, but you know, she was a crowd pleaser.
That's
now,
right.
If our audience wants to get involved, because there's still time. Now, this is a preview that we're at here.
Absolutely.
Which we thank you for that.
Thank you.
But the real event is not coming up until
November 6th, 7th, and 8th in Greenville, Spartanburg, South Carolina. And you can get information. You can reach out to us at You can get tickets. Tickets are on sale and available at celebritycatwalk.com.
Oh, that was terrific. Thank you for joining us. This has been Lauren's Crazy Pet Show.